Hey, this is Mike McCready, co-founder and CEO of Music X-Ray, and your host on episode 43 of the Hookblast podcast. This is the podcast where we discover a few new catchy songs. You add the ones you love to your own streaming playlists or subscribe to mine at hookblast.com. You rock out all week, and the next week we repeat. So, all the other podcast hosts ridicule me and make jokes about how I didn't go to a fancy top-tier podcast host school. But I do know a lot about catchy songs. Oh, and you'd think that would be reason enough to ridicule me. But what's really exciting is that the podcast, that despite my lack of formal podcast host education, the podcast is growing. So thank you for sharing the episodes you love with your friends. And look, I know I still have a ways to go toward my goal of eventually becoming an average podcast host. Let's keep it real. So thank you all for accompanying me on my journey of escapism by rocking out with me and allowing me to vent a little bit so I can keep my sanity during this decade so far. All right, let's get after what you came for, today's hooks. This is one that will appeal to those who like rocking country songs. It's by Randy Bishop and Steve Burdette, who are two guys. It's about second chances and rediscovering that special person that slipped through your hands back when. This is Runaway.
I spent some time thinking about it, wondering if I'm wrong or I'm right. Did you really mean to kiss me, or were you just drunk last night? We were flirting out on the dance floor. The band was playing me and you. When I held you close, you told me something that I never knew. You said, I love you, boy, what do you think of that? I love your dirty boots and your cowboy hat. You said, I love you, boy, since that very first day when I met you in school. Why did you run away?
That was Runaway by Randy Bishop and Steve Burdette. Coming up behind that is a song by ASHWYN and Tyler Simmons. Listen for the flute. It turns out the recording engineer had a flute in his backpack and knew how to use it, and ad hoc added the flute track. For me, it really makes the record. This is 5 Miles.
I thought you said that we can never stop calling. Thought it went unspoken. But ever since you crossed the ocean, all the waves are frozen. I'm standing in your shadows. I'm staring at the sun. No, I'll never see your rays. Our days are over. But blue skies are waiting and watching her fly by. Mountains that now only she'll climb, higher than she'll ever know. But she's got 5 more miles to go. Oh, 5 more miles.
And now we have a song that might remind you a bit of Daddy Yankee, but not because it's in his style, but because the artist says he feels heavily influenced by his work. It's about little things that spark passion, like a glance, or like in my case, a sandwich around bedtime. It's about something small that speaks powerfully to the other person. Okay, like my wife, for example. She absolutely loves it when I drag her to the bedroom, throw her onto the bed, and go wash dishes while she naps all afternoon. This is Una Miradita by Lemay.
Y esos ojos que tú tienes que me miran, que me quieren, que regalo más lindo. Me dan ganas de tocarte, de reírme, de abrazarte como si fuera un niño. Tu carita angelical tiene un brillo natural que me toca por dentro. Si me vuelves a mirar puede ser algo normal, pero no me concentro. Una miradita, es todo lo que quiero para estar junto a ti. Una miradita, es todo lo que lleva para hacerme feliz. Una miradita, es todo lo que quiero para estar junto a ti. Una miradita, es todo lo que lleva para hacerme feliz.
You say I don't owe you a thing, but I know that you're wrong. You told me to
Carrie's song was written by her friend Greg, who was unable to attend her wedding, so he wrote her this song. I think the world would be a better place if people wrote songs to make amends. Like, I'd really like to hear a song about how wrong it was to criticize the dinner I made last night just because the toast was a little burned and someone doesn't think the P in PB&J sandwich stands for pickles. How do some people grow? But don't criticize her upbringing.
You told me to sing, told me to sing when nobody else did. You were listening. You told me to sing, told me to sing. So I'll sing for you now. You say I don't owe you a thing.
That's Carrie's song, also titled Told Me to Sing by Greg in Good Company. You can kind of get lost in the Hey Jude chorus there, can't you?
I am who I am because I was lucky enough.
Okay, we're going to change genres a little bit and play you a beat. Not only because I think that's what you want to hear right now, but because that's what we decided we would do when we wrote the show, and switching it up right now would confuse everyone and throw a wrench into things. This is Closer to You, and it's by producer, I'm going to take a stab at it, Benhottbeatz. And you can check the show notes to see how that's spelled. That's Close to You. And pulling up the rear on today's episode, that's episode 43 of the Hookblast podcast, is a holiday song, because it's that time of year again, and we're going to have a few of these mixed in for a while. It's how we roll. But we're not playing the 12 Days of Christmas. I hate that song. If you ask me, it's completely unrealistic. I mean, who's still accepting gifts from someone after 4 days of birds? That's not your true love. That's a stalker. This is Once Upon a Christmas by Robert Maitland.
I saw restars with the gift of love, and it grew brighter than the stars above. Angels are smiling down on everyone, 'cause you're everything that the seasons can bring. It's Christmas time, let the nation sing. Once upon a Christmas, when the angels came to see us, and the gifts they left. First one was love, first one was love. There was joy, next there was joy, then there was peace on earth.
That's Once Upon a Christmas, and Robert Maitland said his publisher told him to write a Christmas song. Robert said, hey, artists don't work that way, because, art comes from within. And after that, he went away and wrote it anyway. Then his publisher said, you see, Robert, a Christmas song is like a puppy. It's not just for this Christmas.
Make this one special.
Now that's deep, right? It really gets you thinking about puppies. Now, if Robert could only get Mariah Carey to sing this song, it's really good. Okay, that's all the time we have for episode 43 of the Hookblast podcast. I feel a lot more like I do now than when I got here, and I hope you do too. All songs are licensed for use from the rights holders. Go out and have a great week, unless you have other plans. And I'll see you right back here next week with a fresh batch of new hooks. Bye-bye.
I said